All right, boys and girls, Santa's got another story. He's sitting on the beach, relaxing, enjoying, and thinking about, hmm, I could get used to sitting on this beach. Ho, 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 my wonderful friends, snuggle in close. Scoot your cocoa a tiny bit away from the edge of the couch. Santa has seen too many oopsies splashes, and make a little cozy space in your heart for a story that's warm, silly, and sweet. Tonight's tale comes from the snowy sparkle of the North Pole, where the auroras dance like ribbon candy in the sky. Even the wind sounds like it's humming a holiday tune. This story is called The Polar Bear Who Hugged Too Much. Now, can you really hug too much? Well, let's find out. Now, before you giggle and say, Santa, is that even possible? Let me just tell you, when you meet this polar bear, you'll understand. His name was Bramble. Bramble was big, like 2 sleds wide big. His paws were the size of dinner plates. His fur was fluffy like whipped cream, and his smile. Oh, his smile could melt an icicle into a puddle of happy. Bramble loved 3 things more than anything: snow naps, the kind where your nose goes snuffle, snuffle, and you wake up with a snow hat; berry muffins, especially the ones Mrs. Claus makes with a little sparkly sugar on top; and hugs, not just quick, easy, squeezy hugs, not just the thank you for sharing hugs. No, Bramble loved full body, heart included, warm delivery service hugs, the kind that say, I'm glad you exist and I want you to know it, which is very lovely, except Bramble hugged everybody. He hugged the elves, he hugged the reindeer, he hugged snowmen, and then apologized when their buttons popped off. He hugged mailbags, don't ask. He thought one of them looked lonely. He once hugged a broom because it was standing by itself in the corner, like it had feelings. And here's the thing, Bramble's hugs were so powerful that sometimes, just sometimes, they caused, well, mild chaos. For example, one morning Bramble waddled into the workshop with a big grin. Good morning, everyone. He boomed, elves waved, tools clinked, and a toy robot did a little dance because it was programmed to celebrate greetings. Bramble spotted an elf named Jingle Pop carrying a tray of tiny bells. Oh, Jingle Pop, Bramble cried, you're shining today. Before Jingle Pop could say, please, I'm holding a delicate, Bramble scooped him up in a bear hug. Jingle, 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 the bells flew straight up like glitterly fountain. They rained down on the floor in a musical sprinkle. Jingle Pop blinked. I became a bell storm. Bramble sat him down gently and beamed. Wasn't that fun? Jingle Pop stared at the bells scattered everywhere. For the bells, it was, yes. The other elves laughed. Even Jingle Pop cracked a smile because you couldn't say anything to stay mad when a polar bear looks at you like you're the best muffin in the whole pan. But after a while, little problems started stacking up like pancakes. The reindeer began to dodge behind sleigh rails. The elves started wearing busy hands items like they were invisible shields. Pencils, measuring tapes, cookie trays, even a large pot of soup once. That was not recommended. Soups deserve stability. And Bramble, well, he noticed. He didn't notice right away because Bramble's brain was full of good intentions and happy thoughts. But one afternoon, as he wandered towards the hot cocoa station, he saw something that made his fluffy chest feel a tiny pinch. A little reindeer named Pip, small, fast, and extra sparkly around the eyes, was talking with my head reindeer, Holly. Pip was saying, "I love Bramble. I do. He's so kind." Holly nodded. "He is." Pip sighed. "But his hugs, he hugs are, a lot." Holly tried not to smile. "They can be enthusiastic." Pip looked down at the snow. "Sometimes I don't want to hug. Sometimes I just want to wave." Then Pip added quietly, "And sometimes I feel bad saying no." Oh, my friends, Bramble heard that last part and his heart sank like a snowball in cocoa. He took 2 slow steps backwards, very quietly for a polar bear, and sat down behind a snowdrift near the candy cane fence. And for the first time in his polar bear life, Bramble felt unsure. He looked down at his paws. "Too much," he whispered. Now Bramble wasn't angry. He wasn't offended. He wasn't thinking, "How dare they?" No, Bramble was thinking something much more softer. "I was trying to make people feel loved, and I might have made them feel squished." That night, Bramble worked slowly to a quiet corner near the workshop window where the moonlight made silver patterns on the snow. And guess who found him? Me, Santa Papa John. I stepped up beside him holding 2 mugs of cocoa, one for me and one for the biggest hugger in the North Pole. "Evening, Bramble," I said gently. Bramble took the mug like it was precious. "Hi, Santa." We stood quietly for a moment, letting the cocoa steam warm our noses. Then Bramble blurted out, "Santa, am I a bad bear?" I turned towards him so that he could see my eyes clearly. "Oh, Bramble, you are a wonderful bear." Bramble's ears drooped, "But I hug too much." I nodded slowly. "You hug with a big heart. That's a beautiful thing. But do you know what else is beautiful?" Bramble sniffed. "Muffins?" I smiled. "Yes, muffins are definitely beautiful. But I was thinking respect." Bramble blinked. "Respect?" "Yep," I said. "Respect means we care about what other people need, not just what we want to give, even if the thing we want to give is kindness." Bramble stared at the snow. "So kindness can be too much?" I scratched my beard thoughtfully. Kindness is always good, but kindness needs a helper called permission. Bramble's eyes widened. "Permission?" "That's right," I said. "Sometimes the kindest things you can do is ask, 'Would you like a hug?' And then, this is the important part, you listen to the answer." Bramble's voice was quiet. "What if they say no?" I patted his fluffy arm. "Then you give them another kind thing. A wave, a smile, space. A friendly, 'I'm glad you're here.'" Bramble nodded slowly like a bear learning a new dance step. "I can do that." "Good," I said, "because your heart is a gift, Bramble. We just need to wrap it in good manners." Bramble smiled a tidy bit. "Like a present." "Exactly," I said. "Even love needs a bow." The next morning, Bramble made a plan. He waddled with a purpose to the workshop and asked for a piece of wood and a bit of paint. The elves watched curiously as he painted a sign in big, friendly letters. "Hugs available? Please ask." Underneath in smaller letters, he added, "Also available waves, high fives, and compliments." Jingle Pop read it and snorted with laughter. "Compliments? Bramble held up his paws. I'm expanding my menu. Tinseltina clapped. This is emotional excellence. Bramble took a deep breath. His stomach fluttered like a tiny nervous snowflake. This was the scary part. Not the scary like monsters. No. Scary like trying something new. He walked up to Pip the reindeer, who was tying a ribbon to a gift box. Bramble cleared his throat politely. Pip? Pip turned and froze for a split second, like he expected the hug tornado. Bramble stayed still. He remembered permission. He asked gently, would you like a hug? Pip blinked, looked surprised, and then Pip smiled. Not right now, Bramble, but thank you for asking. Bramble nodded. You're welcome. Then he tried a new option. He gave Pip a warm wave and said, your ribbon work is top tier. Very fancy. Pip giggled. Top tier? Bramble smiled. I've been practicing compliments. Pip's eyes perked up. Well, I like it. And Pip went back to tying ribbons without feeling squished. Bramble's heart lifted like a balloon. It worked! It really worked! Next, Bramble approached Jingle Pop. Jingle Pop held up a tray immediately like a shield. I'm carrying bells. Bramble chuckled. I noticed. Bramble asked, would you like a hug? Jingle Pop considered, maybe after I set these down and my life stops jingling. Bramble nodded seriously. Understood. Safety first. Then Bramble stepped back, clasping his paws politely, and waited. When Jingle Pop returned a few minutes later, he said, okay, one hug, but a gentle hug. Bramble's eyes sparkled. Gentle? Like a marshmallow landing? He wrapped Jingle Pop in the softest hug ever. Barely a squeeze, mostly warmth. Jingle Pop sighed happily. Oh, that's actually perfect. Bramble whispered, thank you for trusting me. Jingle Pop said, thank you for not launching my bells into the atmosphere. All around, the elves started noticing Bramble was still Bramble, still kind, still warm, still smiling, but now he was careful and thoughtful too. That afternoon, I watched from my workbench as Bramble offered options like he was running a kindness cafe. Elf Sprout, Bramble asked, hug, high five, or joke? Sprout grinned. Joke. Bramble said, why did the snowman bring a broom to the party? Sprout giggled. Why? Bramble paused dramatically because he wanted to sweep everybody off their feet. Sprout laughed so hard he had to sit down. That's terrible. Bramble beamed. Thank you. Later, Bramble met Mrs. Claus carrying a tray of muffins. He brightened. Mrs. Claus, would you like a hug? Mrs. Claus smiled. I would love one, Bramble, but first can you carry these muffins to the table? Bramble's ears perked up. Yes, I can. He carefully carried the muffins like they were tiny treasures. Then Mrs. Claus gave him a hug first, because she knew he was learning. Bramble's voice said, got soft, I feel helpful. Mrs. Claus winked. You are helpful and thoughtful and still delightfully huggable. A few days passed and something wonderful happened. Instead of people hiding from Bramble, they started coming towards him. Pip would trot up and say, Bramble, I've had a rough day. Could I have a hug now? And Bramble would say, absolutely, and Pip got just right, like a warm blanket, not a snowplow. And the elf would whisper, Bramble, can I have a quiet sit together? No talking, just company. And Bramble would nod and sit gently beside them, like a fluffy, silent friend. Even Mr. Pickles the cat, who visits the North Pole sometimes because, well, you know, cats do whatever they want, strolled by and brushed against Bramble's leg. Bramble gasped. Is this permission? Mr. Pickles blinked slowly. Bramble whispered, It's permission. He didn't hug the cat. He simply offered a respectable head scratch. The cat purred like a tiny engine. Victory! Then came the big moment. The annual North Pole Winter Festival. Lights, music, cocoa, and a dance floor made of polished ice that surprisingly safe. Elves invented special anti-slip shoes. They are adorable and also somewhat squeaky. During the festival, I made a big announcement. Friends, I boomed. We're celebrating kindness today. Kindness in action, kindness in words, kindness in choices. The crowd cheered. Then I motioned towards Bramble. And we're celebrating someone who learned something important this week. Bramble waddled forward, nervous but smiling. I said, Bramble has a huge heart, and he discovered that the best way to share love is to make sure it feels good to the person receiving it. Pip trotted up and raised a hoof. Speech! The elves chanted, Speech! 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 Bramble's cheek turned a little pink under the fur. He cleared his throat. I used to think, Bramble said, that love meant hugging everyone as much as possible. A few elves giggled. Bramble continued, but I learned that love also means asking, listening, respecting. He looked out at everyone. Now I offer choices. Hugs when you want them, waves when you don't, jokes when you need a laugh. Sprout shouted, Tell the broom one! Bramble grinned, maybe later. Then Bramble finished with a gentle smile. Thank you for being honest with me. I didn't want to be too much. I wanted to be just right. The crowd applauded so loud that the snow shook off the trees like confetti. And that night, under dancing northern lights, Bramble didn't chase anybody down for surprise hugs. Instead, something magical happened. People came to him, one by one, on purpose, because now Bramble's hugs weren't just big. They were safe, they were asked for, they were wrapped in respect and tied with a bow. And my friends, that's the kind of magic that lasts longer than winter, longer than festival lights, longer than even the fluffiest beard. Here's the moral of the story. Kindness is most powerful when it comes with respect, because real love isn't just about what we want to give. It's also about what others need to receive. Bramble learned that asking for permission, listening to yes or no, and offering different ways to show care can make people feel safe, valued, and truly loved. When we choose patience and responsibility with our big hearts, we become the kind of friends who don't just hug the world, we help it feel comfortable, understand, and warmly included. Isn't that amazing, ladies and gentlemen? What an awesome story. But stick around, because Santa's got more. Santa loves you, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Ho, ho, ho. Talk to you soon.